space, no one can hear you scream unless you're in a spaceship and they're next to you and they can hear you scream. A lot of people scream and get heard in the first Alien. It's kind of a lie, to be honest. Terrible movie. False advertising.
We're starting there. Oh,
Hot
man,
take:
okay.
Alien, most overrated horror movie of all time. Terrible. I agree with Roger Ebert's review, which was like middling or whatever he said about it. I'm so edgy. All right, welcome to the Retro Boost podcast. It's me, Mike.
And Tori.
I picked a terrible moment. He was doing his drink the moment that I introduced him.
It's all good, man. It's all good. I'm used to it.
We're here to talk about Alien today. Kind of Alien and Aliens mainly. Alien Romulus is on its way. It hasn't come out yet as of present recording, so neither of us have seen it. And so we were feeling like it was a good time to talk about the Alien movies. We will pepper in some opinions on like 3 and 4. I think the new ones, we either pretend that they don't exist or they would be their own video, like Prometheus and Covenant and AVP.
I don't like to discuss trash, so I have no interest in Prometheus and the other one.
Oh, more edgy.
That would need to be its own video for sure. I have a lot to say about those films. Most of it not good, but you know.
One bit of trivia I'll throw out right away is, your main man here doesn't do a lot of reading, like books, but I have read the novelization of Alien.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yep.
I have a copy of the Aliens script, like in book form, and I find that to be a very interesting piece. Yeah.
That's it,
it's very
basically.
cool.
It's all it is. They typically they like adapt the earlier drafts of the screenplay or script into a book. Basically, that's what you get on home book video.
Definitely.
I don't have it anymore though. It was like super old and really cool. Yeah. So Alien Romulus, looking to be potentially the Alien version of Prey, the potentially a big comeback. Prey was very good. Kind of made people realize, whoa, Predator movies can actually be good. We haven't seen that since the first one, really. Ish. The second one has some positives, but the first one's a classic. Alien it's got the best sequel of all time, debatably. So much so that it almost stands on its own. And then everything that followed was either kind of like divisive or just terrible. So maybe we'll be back. Alien might be back, and then who knows? It'll lead to a whole Alien and Predator cinematic universe, and we'll get AVP again.
Yeah, this is when we you stayed away from the trailers, which I really commend you for. I'm not sure that I have the fortitude to be able to do that. But as I've kind of watched Romulus kind of be introduced to this fan base, it's I've really liked what I've seen a lot. I think that it looks very on brand, and I think that's kind of what we all really want to see. Obviously, I haven't seen the film, but just based on kind of what we've been shown through trailers and clips and various scenes, I just really like what I'm seeing, and it does kind of remind me of Prey a lot, where the build up to that was like the closer we got to it, the more we were all pretty sure this is not going to suck. This is going to be okay. Yeah. And I think this is going to kind of become a trend, and I think we're going to see some of these older IPs kind of blossom a little bit. And I'm excited for this film. I love the IP a lot. We're going to talk about the 1, 2, 3, and 4 today, but just really excited and looking forward to seeing what this film's all about.
Oh yeah, and the only trailer that I've seen was like that original teaser that was like friggin' 6 or 7 months ago, whatever it was. and I've managed to avoid anything further, despite the internet's best attempts to get me. Like I do a lot of I'll be editing on my computer right here, and I have like my iPad is like down here off screen, and I'll play like YouTube or Netflix or something, just background noise, right? And like every now and then I hear it starts playing, and I gotta like skip it. So I've avoided the big recent one, and then I went to see Deadpool and Wolverine, and strategically arrived late because I knew it's rated R. So like an Alien Romulus trailer is guaranteed; it's gonna be in there. And I showed up late on purpose, and I'm like waiting in the hallway to enter the theater like a creep, watching the trailers play by. And people were walking by and kind of being like, "What's this guy doing here?" And I would tell them, I'm waiting for a trailer to so I don't see it. And then sure enough, it was the last one. They played trailers for like 30 minutes, and the last one was Romulus. I see the warning, this is rated R for violence, whatever, banner, and I was like, ah! And I got out of the hallway, went out and walked around for a few minutes, came back, and it was over. So I've avoided them all. So I got to avoid them for another week or so, another week or two.
Yep. Yeah, kudos, man. I couldn't do that, and I've seen all of the trailers and all the clips with the movie multiple times. I think I'm excited for sure.
Me too. It'll be fun. So let's wind the clock back to the year 1934 when the movie Alien came out.
Wait a minute.
Don't fact check this. So Alien, slasher film in space. Space was hot at the time, a la Star Wars and Star Trek a decade prior. But Alien had some differences. Every successful like weird non movies that were like should have been super average but then became super popular, they had something special. Like Jaws, its speciality was like the writing. The movie is written like and shot too, like so well that it elevates from a normal B movie, right? What does Alien have? Well, Alien has like really good production value, really good sets. The characters feel like super real, but also the creature in question is just like so terrifyingly original that it's like not at all kind of what you expect or saw at the time. And it led to it becoming like a cult classic. It's famously one of the greatest horror movies ever made. Yeah, this is really bright. It's really bright in my face.
Yeah. So this film for me has gotten better with age. It's like a fine wine, right? And it's kind of evolved throughout my life. I've joked that the older I get, the more unsure I am that Alien's better than the first film. And I think it just kind of speaks to how incredibly great the first film is. And we'll get into the rest, but that's one of the things about these four films that I actually really like is all of them are very unique to themselves. They don't really take anything, and that creates a really unique experience, and that's really what you get out of this film. It's kind of like what you said. It is a slasher in space that sets up this incredibly stressful scenario where these regular people, these are not military men and women, these are your average Joes, and just the scenario that they get themselves put in, you can kind of sense the panic really in a lot of the lines. And of course, as the film goes on, those things get more and more intense. But yeah, it's just such a unique film, and it holds up so incredibly well, like you said. It's definitely one of the best movies to me, probably of all time. I would put it in a group of a lot of films, but as far as what it does and how unique the film is, it is, and the cast too. The cast is great. Alien is a wonderful film. I love it, and it's gotten better with age, like I started off with.
I definitely want to highlight the cast, because something that, and this is not like an original opinion, you hear this, every person talking about Alien will say this, So like Star Trek would be like a good reference point. Space series on TV, multiple seasons. Everyone in Star Trek is like very professional and intelligent, and then like even Star Wars, like the Empire is depicted as very militaristic, and they're very intelligent with how they operate their spacecraft. Alien gives us this far-flung future where space travel is like no different than just the mundanity of driving your car, where it's like these people are not like, you know, we ain't a bunch of NASA scientists, to quote Eric Andre. No. They are just like totally just average, like super normal people that just I don't know what they do outside of like what we see them do here, but it's like they go into cryo sleep, the ship goes somewhere, they wake up, they do something, go back to sleep, take the stuff back to Earth, rinse and repeat. They're just like space truckers basically. So what we have is it's a very small cast, like 7 people, I think. So it's a very small scope, but basically seven space truckers are interrupted on their mission. They are, and I never got this as a kid, but like the screenshot here, like the Nostromo, which is the name of the ship, the Nostromo itself is like a fraction of the structure you're seeing in that screenshot. It's towing this like massive mineral refinery and repository, but they get directed to investigate a mysterious signal, and the cool thing about that is like the conspiracy element, because there's like a lot of little things in this movie that really make the scope bigger than what you think it would be. And like the company that like runs all this stuff, the characters like Parker and Brett do nothing but complain about like their contract and like, we gotta negotiate our rates and I'm not gonna work anymore. And then it's like, oh, but your contract also says that you're required to go down to this planet and investigate this mysterious signal thing. The mysterious like corporate overlord element of the movie, which would go on to be, there's not a lot of stuff from this movie specifically that like survives into the sequels, but that's one thing that does, is that the company is like this mysterious villainous crooked force that directs these people to land on this planet, and it wants them to investigate the possibility of alien life, which is funny because again, they're not scientists. One of them is Ash is the science officer, but the rest of them don't really seem like they have any specialized knowledge for this kind of work. It's interesting, but the movie, I like it. It's like two halves. You have like the LV-426 half where they have this adventure, and then you have like the slasher movie half. They're both very different, but I feel like the half, I've always liked the beginning half more, the mystery of like, what is this ship, and they're exploring and all the creepy scenery. That's my preference personally.
Yeah, you brought up the kind of the corporate shadowy thing, and you know, I saw this film for the first time when I was very young, and of course didn't quite understand all the story beats, but you know, as I've seen it as an adult, that was an element of the film that I absolutely loved, and I thought was such an interesting way to add like a new villain, but you know it's not like the villain, right? But you're like, this thing is going to completely disregard the crew to save what it deems to be the most important thing on the ship, and it's not the humans. And I just think that that's such a great element to add. And other films have done similar things, like Umbrella in the RE series. Like there's a lot of IPs that kind of use the same strategy. But in this case, Wayland Yutani is just such a great side villain, and it's treated so brilliantly in this film. With the Ash scenes when he's on the thing, it's all so good, and it just, like I said, it just adds this element to the film that just creates this sense of like, just doesn't care, you know, and that's just wild.
Yeah, because there's like that's kind of the back mystery of the movie, is that
exactly, yeah,
Captain Dallas checks with the ship's computer as to like what we're doing, and so you gotta investigate this signal. And then Ash, very strangely and robotically, just like knows the clause in question for why they have to do this. And they go down to the planet, they investigate, and they end up bringing back the facehugger on board. And this is where it's like very not normal. Like, this is where this movie stands out. So like,
this is my favorite part of the film. As soon as they get on that shot right there, to me, is when the film like really starts.
It's really creepy and like unsettling.
Yeah, definitely.
The design, and H.R. Giger is the one that like his artwork inspired. He was involved with too. Like, all of his works are what makes this come together. It's a really just like creepy concept, and as we kind of learn, the xenomorphs are basically bioweapons. So the facehugger implants an embryo in you. You're incapacitated during that process. Embryo grows, bursts out of you. There's a new xenomorph, which will then kill / harvest people to rinse and repeat.
And through all of that, we get treated to one of the greatest scenes of all time. The chest burster scene is just burned into my brain, and man, such a gnarly scene, and it's done so well, and it's practical, and everything about that scene is just so great and iconic and all the things.
Yeah, and like there's kind of foreshadowing to that too, because like, well, I mean, you know that something up is up, and this screenshot here, actually, Ash knows what's up. This is when the facehugger is detached, but Kane's still unconscious. He's looking at an embryo on that screen right there, like he knows. So the facehugger just dies, and it's like, oh, all right, cool. we got our friend back. But then the chestburster scene happens. So like, it's the life cycle of this creature is so bizarre. It only makes sense in the context of it being like an engineered weapon to like unleash on a population.
Acid for blood? Does that not scream like defense? That would really suck.
Well, it's like Parker says it himself. He's like, you dare not kill it, because they go to. Oh yeah, this too. So they didn't. These are like genuine reactions by the actors, because they weren't told like the specifics of what was going to happen. So like, I love her face.
That is great.
You can tell it's real. Like, she's like, whoa.
Oh yeah.
Tom Skerritt too. His face is pretty funny in the next screenshot. But it's brutal, man. Like, yeah, look at that. This Tom Skerritt's face is great. He's like, oh my god.
Wow.
It's a horrifying thing. And this movie is probably the only one, ironically, besides 4, that has like a sensible timeline for facehugger to chestburster, because he's got the facehugger on for like more than a day, and then is unconscious for a period of time after that too. So it takes a while. AVP, the first one, has to like be like freaking one scene.
Right.
Why even have the facehugger in that sense if it's that fast?
Going back to the scene where they're trying to cut the glass off, and they hit the leg, and then they see the blood hit the ground. That scene right there is such a good like indication of what this thing is. But anyway, I just always recall whenever I saw that scene, I always felt that, like, whoa, that is
it's bizarre.
Quite the defense. But anyway, yeah.
And then
Look at
the cutie pie with his chrome teeth, and foreshadowing for what comes in the future. Ash is like very clearly just watching Kane with like complete like something's gonna happen in any second now. And he prevents Parker from trying to smash the thing with a knife, which they just should have done it. But then continuing, the cool thing about people that watch this for the first time back then is that because this creature's life cycle is like so bizarre, you're never sure what to expect next. Because now the threat is like this little 6-inch chrome tooth beastie, and they go looking for it.
Chrome tooth beastie. That's great.
They go looking for it, but that's not what they find after they go looking. The thing bolts, and it's very big when it's seen next, and it's like adult form. And then like the game, now it's a whole new game, and
that's
like
the shot right there.
You can the character's behavior, like everyone's situation mentally, is so different after this moment. Like Parker in particular is like traumatized, and I love that about that, because he was like such a whiny, I don't care, like whatever before this, and then after getting a glimpse of this thing, he's like, I don't know what I just saw. It big. Like it's interesting. And we get the first look at the double mouth. They have like the double mouth that shoots out to like impale prey.
Oh yeah.
It's wild, man. The design of this creature is what works. So,
Jonesy, my favorite.
Yeah, Jonesy witnessed the catastrophe and was like,
yeah.
I guess I'm not the big boy in the house no more. There's a new challenger.
Well, yeah, kind of what you said about the panic is, like you said, like everybody has their own reaction to what they just saw, and the way that each character is so unique. It just speaks to how well the story was done, and how great the cast, how great of a job they did. And yeah, it's just one of those elements to the films that definitely adds, a fear element to it, and it really only goes up from here, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, because then pressure sets in as it's like the thing starts to pick them off one by one. Standard kind of slasher movie affair there, but I think the one thing that makes it again work uniquely is that the setting is like so interesting for this scenario. Because, I mean, they're in a spaceship, A. There's nowhere to run to. Secondly, the spaceship is enormous. And, ironically, the alien has plenty of places to hide and surprise you. You never know. Like, no corner is safe.
Right.
But then what starts to happen is we get like, more insight onto the corporate side of thing. Because as horrible as it is that these characters are fighting for their lives, Ripley finds out that the company doesn't give a crap about them. She goes to consult Mother after Dallas is gone, and
that's a good scene.
The mission directives are crew expendable. And like again, now the game enters its third phase where it's like we are on our own in every sense of the word. And that's also when we get the twist of Ash being an android. If you watch the movie and pay particular attention to Ash, you'll see him like subverting their efforts at every corner. Like every failed thing that they kind of deal with, whether it's just getting the alien on board, making sure it's alive, like he's responsible for it all.
Right.
Because he's programmed to follow those directives.
Yep.
Good times. The one thing I recall from the book is there's a scene where they're trying to, I think it's part of the scene where they're in the ductwork. They want to like,
that's so good.
They want to get it to the airlock to like just vent it into space. They almost succeed in the book. They get it like in that area, and the alien becomes fascinated with a light that's blinking. Oh. So the book actually goes into a little bit of like, yeah, this is an animal.
Cool.
He likes blinking lights. So yeah, just that's the one thing from the book I remember that's not in the movie, is the alien's fascination with a blinking light.
Yeah, one of the things that we really got to make sure we don't miss is how incredible Ripley as a character is in this film. And it's one of the few times where we've seen the way that a character has been written in the first film to this heights is very, very similar to how they're written in the next film. And it's such an interesting approach. And she just follows the rules to a T. And the way that that's written, the way that it's communicated in the film is so great. And she's just a great part of the film. Great star for sure. Because it's one of those scenarios where you probably think that it's one of the dudes, and it's like nope, and that's that's just great. It's great. It's a nice kind of twist on the film, and such a great character really throughout all the films that she's in this series.
This is a twist here too. Have you ever seen the director's cut?
I have actually. This is the scene when he's like up on the wall in the creep, right? Yeah. That's great.
They're turning into eggs.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Brett is in there, the first guy that gets grabbed, and he looks like he is an egg. Like the 4 folding flower petal ports are there. Really weird.
Wow.
People are divisive.
I wish they would have kept that in the film.
I don't know. It's kind of weird because in the context of them being innocuous to some kind of social insect species, it would make sense that a lone one would eventually molt into a queen, as opposed to turn people into eggs. It's a little strange.
I mean, I to be honest with you, I didn't notice that those were eggs. I was just assumed that it was creep. To be honest with you.
Nope, they are literally being morphed into facehugger eggs somehow.
That's interesting. That certainly would have changed the way they work for sure. There wouldn't be really any queens, right?
Exactly. So I think it's the product of the vision not being complete. And then we get our famous climax. Ripley, the slasher formula, the final character on the run. But like you said, Ripley just makes smart decisions here and there.
Yep.
I think it's pretty cool that she tries to undo the self-destruct sequence and can't. She almost runs into it a couple times and avoids it. It's a whole tense sequence. And it's the self-destruct run that kind of inspired the third act of every Metroid game. They repeat it in Aliens, and people credit Aliens as being the inspiration, but don't forget it's in this movie too.
Oh yeah,
they both have
it. When she's through those piped rooms and the lighting and the whole scene of her when she's carrying the cat and she's got the whole thing. Yeah, oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, it's great, man. And then it gets on the shuttle and scares the crap out of her, and she blasts him out into space, man. Incinerates him.
Where no one can hear it scream.
It's true. You do hear it scream, though. Once again, the movie is complete fallacy. You do. You literally hear it go like, "Rah!"
Oh, that's a great shot.
Yep. And then she logs off. Everything's gone, and moving on to Aliens.
Okay, so Aliens is probably tied with Silence of the Lambs for my favorite movie of all time. It is a movie I've seen countless times. So many things throughout my childhood, becoming an adult, I have stolen from this film. I had a cat named Hudson, absolutely named after the character in the film. The cast is so good. Everything about it is so great, and it's so rare. Kind of like what I said in the very start. It's so rare to see a follow-up be nothing at all like the first one and be just as good, if not better. And it's just such a rarity, honestly. And this movie has a special place in my heart for sure.
It's really funny that you say that because you think about other slasher films. So Halloween Part 2, Michael Myers continues to kill people in Haddonfield. Friday the 13th Parts 2 and 3, people keep getting killed at Crystal Lake. Nothing changes. It's just the same stuff is happening in a new movie, right? But Aliens,
you compare it
so
to
different.
Terminator 2. Compare it to Terminator 2 because it's so funny because they're both such incredibly great follow-ups, of course, directed by the same guy, of course. But I always put those two films kind of in the same kind of arena of follow-ups that were probably better than the first.
Yeah, and similarly, they both kind of drop the horror element of their original counterparts in favor of heavier action too.
Yeah.
Also, this screenshot here, have you seen the 1990 special edition of Aliens?
Yes, I have.
I think that is truly a superior product versus the director's cut of the first movie.
Yeah.
Because we get to see consequence of her being like a time traveler. Like her daughter has passed away from old age, which is very sad.
Yeah.
We also get to see a little bit of Hadley's hope before, and I'm kind of 50-50 here if that's a good thing or not. Because here it is. So like we see Newt prior to the outbreak. I almost think that cutting this was a good idea though, because I think it's freakier if you don't really know and you're learning it as they do versus seeing it here and knowing what they're walking into.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that approach for sure. It's funny because I think we've been fortunate in we have watched this film without that scene so many times. So, like, for me, like, I'm kind of starved to know what it looked like before, right? And we get a glimpse of that, and I absolutely love that. It's kind of like in you know, the Dead Space game or the Dead Space films when it cuts back to before, you know, the relic was on the ship, when things were, like, fine. And I think seeing that and then seeing how it turned out, I honestly think that I love that scene being in the film, and I wish it would have been in the normal film. But yeah, that's kind of my opinion on that. Is I actually wanted to see more of Hadley's hope before they found the eggs.
And then the last extra scene is. What is that?
Is that me?
Yeah.
Oh no. I got a new cell phone. I apologize. I don't know what that was though. That's creepy.
Yeah, that was extended dialogue. The other extra scene from the special edition is the turrets in the hallways.
Yes.
Because they mention that they have them in the regular cut, but you never see them. I think that those scenes are also pretty cool because they play into the just the force they're up against, and also it's pretty interesting that the aliens are like, they're not stupid. They won't just throw themselves at this hallway of bullets forever, and they give up, not realizing that both of the guns are basically empty, and if they were to try again, they'd win. It's interesting. It's also just tense too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the raptors in Jurassic Park when he says that they're trying to test the fence. It's like they probably just tried to go around. You know what I mean?
And they do.
So now you need to look at your and they do, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. It kind of speaks to the fact that they're animals, but they're really smart. And of course, there's the wonderful how could they cut the power? They're animals. Amongst a ton of great lines.
I've wondered that too, and my only theory is that in their attempts to get around the guns and get into the roof, they like inadvertently slice through some cables. They can't be that smart. Like, that's a step up.
That's true.
Electrical engineering know-how is kind of a leap, but like a rat, you know, a rat could shoot through a cable to get it. It's in his way. That's probably what happened. But one thing we got to step back on. I think
there was a guy sitting up there with a knife that was trying to cut that cord.
To step back, the biggest difference between Alien and Aliens, per the title, is we go from one alien that massacred a civilian crew in under a day to 200 aliens that consumed
this time
a
it's
colony.
war.
Yeah. So we're seeing, like, well, what happens if the people that are facing these things have guns? You learn a couple things. Number one, individually, these things aren't that bad. Like, if you got 7 people with guns, that one alien's screwed. 200 of them, different story. So Ripley she goes back to this place. There's now a colony there because 50-something years have passed. Those colonists found the crashed ship, got exposed to a facehugger, and then they do their work. in that, I think it's like 2 weeks, something like that. Like the colony's overrun and they're all dead at that point. So we join these Marines that go and investigate it. The Marine characters are like super charismatic, very likable. They're also flawed.
Awesome.
They're also like really confident and cocky, and like don't really take the situation too seriously. And it leads to them getting like destroyed in their first encounter with the aliens. And then, much like the first movie, the second act is like the game's changed. Like we are up against something very serious here, and it turns into a like survival horror situation.
Yeah, I think that's one of the parts about, kind of like what you said. One of the parts about the film that I love is when they first get to the planet, they're like so full of themselves about kind of what this is going. He's like, oh, a bug hunt, you know, like they don't take it seriously like at all, and it's so funny to see that change. But it kind of builds onto like your respect as a viewer for that team, because you know, like they must have been through a lot if they don't think that this is a big deal at all, you know. So it kind of creates this idea of like, I wish we could have seen stuff that they would have done before this, you know what I mean? I feel like that would be really cool.
Yeah, they make it sound like there's some kind of like task force that does like strikes against, you know, drug dealers on farms or something, like in the outer rim. Like it's interesting, like the implications of what they do. But one thing that's very clear is that they are distinct from the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, because operationally the military personnel have control over this situation, and like it reminds me of like the Red October. Like they have like this they have like that political officer on board. Like Burke fulfills that role for the company. Like he's like this company advisor, but he isn't in charge. But much like Ash in the first movie, Burke is the guy secretly working against him. And he is an excellent human villain.
Incredible.
He's awesome. Like he comes across as like so sincere in the first act, and by the end he's just like this scheming piece of garbage. The first exposure to the aliens is also really great too, because it leans into their it's so good. Like they're hiding in the walls, they're using the ceilings, they're swarming everywhere. We learn some new things about them. That number one, their body temperatures match the environment, so you can't use infrared. They're trying to use heat vision with their little pull down thing. Doesn't work. We get the iconic death noise, that like peacock sound, like when they die, and like they use that in like every game and movie since. Also worth noting, is this the first found footage movie?
That's funny.
It's probably not, but like it is interesting.
Yeah, kind of when you get to that scene and everything kind of, you know, explodes, and you know things are about to go south when Apone has to collect all their guns and all their mags, and it's like, man, this is a really bad scenario. I love that shot right there when he's getting blown up.
Yeah, this was hard to get. So one thing that I like about this movie too, you don't see a lot of them. Like even in the heat of action, you only get like split moments of them on screen, which adds to like the horror and the mystery. I think it really helps keep it like spooky. That moment's my favorite. Eat this.
Did you know that they had to film that in reverse because he kept screwing it up?
I think I've heard that before. Yeah.
Yeah, they literally just did it in reverse because James Cameron was like take 8. He was like, okay. Start at the top, and we're just gonna do it in reverse. And they were like, "You can do that? That's awesome."
There were a lot of moments like that on set, because like famously this movie had a very troubled production with the crew specifically. Yeah. Him and James Cameron and all of the like camera people, lighting people, etc. would get into fights like daily. He'd be screaming at him for whatever reason. He sounds like, you know, the polite word is passionate, but the real word is like, he just sounds like kind of an angry dickhead.
Yes.
Either everyone's almost getting killed on set, or they're getting yelled at on set. His production seemed very chaotic. But the actors themselves had a lot of great chemistry between them. So like you would never know that the production was like as hellish as it was watching the
100%.
movie, which is really cool. I think they also filmed it in an abandoned power station is where it was filmed.
Nice.
And the smart guns were built out of motorcycle parts.
Nice. Yeah, so many iconic guns kind of spawned from this film. The pulse rifle and the smart gun were kind of introduced here. And yeah, it's great. It's great. The guns are great. Kind of once we get to this part in the film, this is when they're setting up the perimeter, and you can kind of feel aliens kind of around them, like where are they going to come from, and it creates this really creepy feeling, a lot like kind of what you felt in the film. Like this part of the film has kind of like this feel, like where's the villain, where is he going to show up, and it really elevates the film for sure.
Yeah, it's cool because like they're very different. The first half is like this kind of mystery adventure. They're like moving through the facility trying to figure out what happened. The second half is them holed up trying to survive. It's good stuff. And then Ripley continues to develop as it goes forward, because like she handled herself well in a terrifying situation, but she handled herself realistically in the first movie. Like she's terrified in the climax of the first movie, but she does what she needs to do. In this movie, I like that we're seeing like she's getting more like desensitized to it and like getting braver, and like she has something to protect now in the form of Newt. I like her and Hicks. They grow together, and he like teaches her how the guns work, and all of that leads to like the greatest final sequence in like any action movie ever. Her raid into the hive with her the pulse rifle and the flamethrower strapped together. She's all decked out, all this gear, and she's like ready to go. And she's just like, I've had it with this. Like this is Judgment Day.
It's so funny. It's so funny that you bring that up and you kind of introduce that film or that part as like such a great scene, because to me, really, from that scene, from the elevator door when the wind is blowing, from right there to the end of the film, nothing is better than that. That is it. That is the greatest, what do you say, 15 minutes to finish a film ever. Just the way that the soundtrack works, the way that the production value is, the introduction of the Queen. Did not want to miss the chance to discuss that part of the film. Yeah, excellent. Oh, that I love that shot right.
It's also super short. Like, dude, it's so short. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Definitely a good one.
There's tons of great stills. These moments, don't think, if you haven't seen the movie for whatever reason, these are not extended moments on film. These moments are like so fast.
Yeah.
All right, so the Queen. So we answer the question, where do the eggs come from? So there's a matriarch that lays the eggs. And this like standoff here, mother versus mother, is like how I've always seen this. So Ripley is protecting Newt, the Queen is protecting her children. It's two opposing motherly forces. And the Queen seems way more intelligent than the warriors or the drones are, because like the Queen understands that Ripley is holding a weapon that could not just kill her but all the eggs too, and like she calls off the guards like she does, and the warriors like kind of slink away. So tense. But the best thing that comes out of this is the face that Ripley makes, which I did capture it. It's coming. Oh yeah, you know what it is. There it is. That is the moment where she is done being afraid.
Yep.
And like she goes full vengeance mode and just annihilates the entire nest. Like just hell, man. It's so awesome. The
reaction
so
from the Queen too is just like, that shot right there. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, she burns it all. It's so spectacular. And then the Queen separates from the egg sac and then becomes she's out for vengeance now. And I love how the Queen like observes the elevator and like learns to operate the elevator. Like that's a great moment. And then they escape. We get our Metroid escape sequence once again. But then it's not over. Surprise! The Queen has hitched a ride on the shuttle and is on the Sulaco at the end, and we get like a double finale situation. And then this leads us into one of the most iconic moments in sci-fi history. Get away from her, you bitch.
Amazing.
And like any competent film, it was foreshadowed / set up. Chekhov's power armor. She uses it earlier in the movie. She has a class 3 rating or whatever she says. And then they fight. And then she blasts it out of the airlock. Such a spectacular action sequence. I mean, like you said, when they land in the facility and she goes in up until the end, like it's a thrill. Like you're just on the edge of your seat the whole time. It's so awesome. It's so good.
Yep. I don't have too much more to say. The movie is incredible, and it's one of my favorites of all time. And it's just one of the best movies ever, man.
It is. It's a real. Yeah, they all came. A lot of James Cameron's works came out to 4K Blu-ray earlier this year, to some controversy. But I was watching them, and I watched them with my parents. Funny enough, Aliens held my mom's attention. She watched the entire thing, which is crazy, because that is not her kind of movie. But she was in it for the ride.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing that.
Yeah,
wow,
I thought that was
great.
so funny. So, Alien and Aliens, best movies of all time, basically. Classics.
Classics.
Kind of 1 to 2 minutes each. Alien 3.
So I have a special place in my heart for Alien 3.
So weird.
Probably like 6 years ago, I would say, I got like weirdly obsessed with Alien 3 and watched it like every day for like probably 3 or 4 weeks. I know that's really weird, but I like got really obsessed with the setting, and I thought that the cast was really good, and it just kind of speaks to like how different this movie is than 1 and 2. Like it only really takes the alien, like that's it. Like the setting is completely its own. There's no like military thing. Like you don't even see a gun until the last like 3 minutes of the film. It's just crazy. And there's some great kills, really good kills. The CG is horrendous. I wish they would have stayed away from it, but great movie. I like Alien. You know, I definitely don't think it's better than 1 or 2. I'm not even going to entertain the idea of that because I don't believe that. But I definitely think it's better than the next movie, to be honest with you. But yeah, I love Alien 3. I'm not going to go on too long about it, but I like that movie. I like the setting. I like the cast. I like the soundtrack. I like the kills. There's this strange like red hue, because they're in like the boiler spot, and kind of the way that creates this like colored hue to the way the film was shot just kind of burns in my brain. I don't know why, but yeah, I like Alien 3. I think it's probably the third best of the films, but I like Alien.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good either. Like, I think it's just middling.
That's fair.
I think
it's probably like a little bit better than middling. That's what I would say.
I really just... I hate that it just takes the ending from Aliens and just, like, crumples that up, burns it, puts it in a blender, buries it out back, drops a safe on it, drops a bomb on that. Like, it just couldn't be any more, like, screw you with undoing the happy-ish ending of Aliens.
I think that's one of the things that makes the film unique, to be honest with you, but I understand why you feel that way, definitely.
The grim nature of it, though, I think also becomes its strength. Because, like, it needs to hit you super hard in the gut to then, like, bring you to the anguish of the environment. That part of it So like the thing I hate about it most is also the thing I like about it most. It's like this infinity of anguish.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than that, not much else to say. I think I like what they tried to do with the whole first person fisheye lens thing. But they really, in my opinion, failed to get across that with a different host, the xenomorphs take on different traits. Like, it just doesn't. The alien doesn't look enough like it would be a quadrupedal predator. They didn't. That aspect of it wasn't explored well enough. Because all the xenomorphs on screen, for the most part, have been the product of human hosts. And in this one, either depends on the version you watch. Either it's a dog or it's an ox, or a cow or something. So it's supposed to be like quadrupedal or whatever. But yeah, it runs on all four legs. But other than that, like, it doesn't seem all that different. Yeah, it's all right.
The worst part about the film for me is that it's long. It's just too long.
It is.
They could have cut 30 minutes off in it. We would have felt the same about the film.
Yeah. Good ending, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely good ending.
Powerful ending. All right. Alien Resurrection.
Ooh, okay. Decent cast. The only...
Ron Perlman.
That's what I mean. Like, the cast is... It's probably the best part of the film, to be honest with you. I didn't like that they killed off what felt like the male lead. They killed him off way too soon. I don't like that. And every time I watch
from The
the movie,
Crow. Yeah, I forget his name.
Yeah, every time it gets to that scene, I'm like, oh, why do they do that? That kind of, I just don't think that makes any sense. I love the underwater stuff. I absolutely love all that. All that is the best part of the movie to me, by far. The weird human alien thing at the end, terrible. The design is terrible. They do some weird stuff with the queen aliens in that movie. I do like the scenes when he like turns on the smoke and the alien gets all mad and like goes into the room and gets killed. Like that scene, that's great. But there's definitely the part with the brain. Like, no. This is not what we want. That's not it. But all right. I mean, it's all right.
Yeah, I threw that on as background noise like 6 months ago, and I remember texting you when I was doing it too, because I was like, "What the hell is up with this?" Like the alien roars are like these deep guttural like lion roars now, and I was like, "What is that?" And then like it just doesn't work. I don't know. It's like a mixture of the first two movies. Because now we're back on a spaceship, but again, like the characters have guns and stuff. It's like if Firefly had an alien crossover. Like it's just strange. And like their priorities were all wrong when they were making it. They were trying to make like a summer blockbuster. Basically, it was like their design intent, not a interesting or unique horror thing. Because, as middling as I think Alien 3 is, it can call its setting and its mood its own. It's distinct from the first two. Resurrection fails to be distinct. It just comes across as scraps of the previous films.
Well, I remember seeing it in theaters as a young kid and being like, this movie sucks. It's not any good. Yeah, I'm just not a fan. You alluded to the way that the aliens kind of have like a roar type scenario.
Yeah, they do.
And that like that makes me think that the people who made it didn't even understand what they were trying to make. I just don't understand.
Probably not. I mean, there's a lot of like weird like artsy avant-garde stuff like that makes me just feel like it's like a weird like this is like when Sigourney Weaver, like when Ripley is taken by the xenomorph and she's like hugging it, she embraces it. I'm like, what are we doing here? I get that this isn't like Ellen Ripley. It's like some weird clone of her, but like, what are we, guys? Stop it.
No,
just knock it off.
Not. it's not good. Like I said, the only scene that I really, really like is all the underwater stuff, especially when the alien gets hit with the bullet and it's just like, boom.
Oh yeah, it's just,
Like,
boom.
that part's great. Yeah, that part's
You know
great.
that the moment that you know the movie is absolute trash is when Winona Ryder's character gets on the intercom and says, like, all aliens to Sector 2, 'cause that's where the bad guy is. Yeah, like, they don't, like, that isn't a joke. Like, in the movie, that's, like, a sincere thing she's doing. Like, she literally thinks that that's gonna work. No.
Not
so bad.
Not good.
It killed the franchise for like the better part of a decade, because it wouldn't be until Prometheus that we got a solo alien movie. AVP is what came next.
The first one's not too bad, honestly. It's got some stuff that I really find annoying, but I'll watch it.
Yeah, and then AVPR is the movie that's too dark, you can't see what's going on in it. It doesn't matter what TV you have, you have the best TV in the world and still can't see anything. And then Lightning Round, Prometheus, fantastic cinematography, great mood, really good soundtrack. Everything else is 0 out of 10. Covenant,
Same.
what the hell what the hell is going on? I saw that early. It's back there. It's up on the top of that shelf. My early see it ticket is framed to forever remind me to never look forward to things.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I saw them all in theaters and just thought that Ridley Scott was just trying to be too. He outsmarted himself, and I don't think that's what the fans really wanted. It's certainly not what I wanted. There's like one or two scenes in that movie that I find kind of auto trash, like the one that came before it.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say about Prometheus, for anyone watching, if you haven't seen it, or if you have, it's not a prequel to Alien. It's literally not. The planet they go to is not the same planet from the first movie. It's in the same star system, but it's a different rock. It's LV like 421. LV 426 is the one from the first movie. So it fails. When I heard that in the theater, I got like upset. I was like my seat, like itching, because I was like, this isn't what it was advertised as. Now it's supposed to be a prequel to not that movie specifically, but like, you know, I don't know, like the way it's all shot, it's like trying to be a prequel to Alien, but it can't be because the plan's different. Like they have the ship like crash, and I'm like, what? Like, why are you doing stuff that's like you're setting up for a movie that doesn't exist? Like, what are you doing? And then they kill off her character off screen in Covenant, and it's just like the hits just keep coming. Terrible, trash, terrible.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all that. Not great. Leads us into
Romulus, the Redeemer.
So I talked quite a bit about the movie when we started. So I would love to know what are you expecting from this film, and what needs to be there for you to really enjoy this movie.
Make the xenomorphs scary again. You know, one problem with Aliens, as far as its impact on the franchise, it took it in a more thrill direction than a horror direction. It would be really cool if we could get like the horror element back, like for real. That's one thing. Also, from that original teaser trailer, and don't say anything, obviously. I swear to God, if you ruin this for me now, it's a finish line. It looks like the facehuggers are going to be a continuing threat. Whereas in most of the movies, it's like the facehuggers are in the beginning and then just never seen again. Except for Aliens, ironically. In Aliens, they are, if you watch the director's cut, at least, the special edition, they're in the beginning and they're in the middle. But like, you know, AVP, like 1 and 2, and Alien, like the resurrection, like the facehuggers have their big time in the spotlight and then just kind of go away, like they're never really seen again. Even though the characters like walk into an active hive in the third act of AVPR, no facehuggers. So it's like, it looked, given just the sheer quantity of them seen in that trailer, I'm wondering if they're going to be around and a threat for like the entirety of the film, which would make sense.
Yeah, one of the things that I've really kind of been excited about from like the communication about the film on Twitter and kind of the lead up to it, it seems like they've used a lot of practical effects, which I think is something that gets me really excited as somebody who really, really enjoys a film with a lot of practical effects. And if we get like alien movement that's practical and it looks really, really good and it's like crawling down a tube or whatever, I would love that. I just want to see like aliens. It kind of goes back to the Prey thing. Like, we're going to be able to get to see how good these things can look today, and we haven't had that. We haven't had that yet, and I think that that's one of the things that this movie's going to bring.
We haven't had that, ignoring the Covenant exists.
I mean, it was a long time ago. That movie was what, 2017, right?
It's still modern, but it's just not. It wasn't executed well. Like, that's the thing. We had modern effects, but they just weren't like. It was weird. Like the xenomorph in that movie, it just like wasn't meh. So
yeah,
it's the Redeemer. Like, it's the chance to do it right.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping for some suit work too, honestly, because the first movie and the second movie have excellent suit work. Like, it's a real thing on the set, and it doesn't look like cheesy or fake. Like, you could do it. So I'm hoping that they do that. I mean, at worst, we'll have motion capture, which is fine. But that's an element too if they go the practical route, like all the way.
And I'm excited about the kills. I want to see an alien on camera attack a human being, and I want to see kind of how that looks like. I just think it would be really cool because I mean we haven't seen a lot of that either, really. Like, we haven't like the films, sure, but like I like think about how cool it would have been if Hudson wouldn't have been killed off camera and you saw him die. Like, that would be cool. And I want to see more of that. I want to see more of like the least amount of CG in this film, the better it will be for me. That's kind of my barometer.
Okay. You just reminded me. There's a well, number one, Aliens, Colonial Marines. You find Hudson's corpse, which is stupid because the place is supposed to explode. But there's also
very gone.
Yeah, there's a deleted scene in Aliens where she comes across Burke.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that.
Cocooned to a wall, and she puts a grenade in his hand and just keeps walking. She doesn't say a word to him. It's so cold.
Right.
She's just like, grenade. I'm done with you.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm also curious too. No movie beyond Alien has ever recreated the aesthetic of the original, and it makes sense that Aliens didn't because it was 50 years in the future. Mm-hmm. But if I understand correctly, Romulus is set at some point similar to the time of the first movie. So I'm also wondering if we'll see some of that.
Do you want to know what the timeline is? Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
It would be cool to see a movie like kind of show us some of that good old MS-DOS stuff again.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, really excited about it. I think it's going to be... I'm just excited to see a new Alien film with xenomorphs and you know, the aesthetic looks like it's there. It looks like it was made by a fan. And I think that that's something that we're all excited about. Is it looks like a movie that kind of we would have made. if we had the chance.
Awesome. All right, well, hopefully we like it. If not, it'll have to be like, give your thoughts now. That movie was terrible. God, I hate it.
That would be really sad. But, it would be kind of par for the course, honestly, even though we have changing that trend like Prey and some other ones.
True. I think the odds of it being good are quite high. It's definitely a chance at redemption. The bar couldn't be lower anyway. I mean, to beat Covenant means that you show up. If you show up with the Xenomorph costume, as terrible as it is, you've already surpassed Covenant.
Yes. And if the film opens up with like that chime that the first two films have, that'd be it for me.
If the film has two androids play the flute and then kiss, that's it for me.
Oof. Not sure you're getting that, buddy.
You don't know. I might.
Right.
All right. We will see you next time. Whatever we do will be post seeing Romulus, so we will do a podcast about like, oh yeah, this thing about Superman. But let's talk about Alien Romulus for 5 minutes. Like,
absolutely.
Whatever happens,
we will definitely do that.
Have a good time, everyone. Hope you enjoy the movie too. If not, man, wasn't it terrible? We agree. Yeah. Our Helldivers prediction, well, what I said at the end, unfortunately played true. I was glad that I said shame on you, Helldivers, because that didn't go in a great route. So maybe I'm optimistic about this one. Alien Romulus, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.